So this is another just script that I built myself on ThinkScript, and I just call it the probability chart, right? I know it looks kind of crazy, but it's pretty simple. Um, so essentially, what you can see is that each day the probability chart's going to reset. It's going to reset based off the opening price, and it's going to reference the opening price. So, for example, today TGT is up right now 0.6. Not sure exactly what it was off the open, but relatively the same, right? So it's going to reference that opening price, and then it's going to look back. And right now I have it set for the last 30 days. So over the last 30 days, it's actually going to then calculate uh, probabilities. So obviously, I'm always talking about how trading is a probabilities game. It's all about probabilities. Essentially, the day trading strategy algorithm that I use to manage my day trades is very similar to this in that sense that it uses probabilities and it scales out those probabilities. It's more aggressive than this one, and it doesn't visually actually show you where those levels would be. But what we can see right here is that we've got levels to the upside, to the downside. So based off of where TGT opened, over the last 30 days, we could see that there is a potential. So if you look at the conservative line on the upside, right? And I've never explained this to anyone, right? So just bear with me, but it's it's relatively straightforward. So over the last 30 days, there's a 73% win rate behind this conservative line, which means that off the open here, the chances of hitting this green line are 73%. Okay, off the open here, the chances of hitting this green line are 67%. So if you're long or if you're short, right, you're able to use either the conservative, moderate, or rare slash high as your TP targets or your SL targets. And so, for example, if we were to get in some TGT longs right now, I know I'm working with about a 73% win rate if we hit that 97.70. I can decide if I want to take profit there or if I want to continue holding up to that next level, which all of a sudden now we've decreased to a 37% win rate. And then if I really want to let that winner run, well, now we're looking at a 23% win rate. So you can see how we just had hit that green line. So if I bought TGT calls off the open, we just hit our 73% win rate. Over the last 30 days, that level is hit 73% of the time. Okay, does that make sense? And so then you're able to getting in that trade. It's all about factoring in, again, probabilities, historical probabilities based off that specific stock and how that stock currently trades. 30 days is a relatively close time frame. It's it's close enough but long enough out where we have enough data to work with. 30 days is enough data to work with, but it's current with the market conditions, how the market's trading, how that stock is trading. It's not like we're looking at how TGT was moving 10 months ago. We're looking at how TGT has been moving over the last month, and that 30 days continues, obviously, as the days go on. It just takes into account the last 30 days. So it's not like a month, it goes 30 days back. And if we can hit, so like right now, if we can hit that 73, like that could have been my TP right there. I could aim for a really high win rate. If I go for, essentially, if I shoot for conservative as my TP, that would mean that I would have a very high win rate. Now, that win rate is going to fluctuate based off of each level, based off of the stock. But if my TP is always that conservative, I know I'm going to have a really high win rate. If it's that moderate, typically it's going to be about half, maybe a little less than half. And then if we shoot for these really high win rates, those aren't going to hit much, right? Obviously, like you can see, it's about 23% of the time. But you have to think about it from the probabilities of that actual move happening, and then where in relative to your TP is your stop loss going to be. So if we have a high, let's say we set our take profit at that red line there, which we know that red line, we only have a 23% win percentage uh, of hitting that level, right? Over the last 30 days, we've only hit that line 23% of the time. And again, this resets every day. And then if we set our stop loss here at 67, okay, we know if we were long that we would get stopped out here at 67. So we'd essentially be cutting our losers at the first green conservative level, and we'd be taking profit on our winners at that 23%. So we're letting our winners run in this case, and we're cutting our losers fast. Now, that can be kind of structured in any way that you want. What we'll be doing is I'll be using this more moving forward with the small account, because it's not for, it has nothing to do with what I'm mainly doing on my main trading account. I obviously have that day trading strategy algorithm, but I feel like this is the most like beginner friendly, in a sense, way to approach probability trading, and it visually will really just show you what to expect on that day. And without this, you're kind of like trading blind. Like, you just see some candles, right? And great, like you could look at like some support and resistance, which you can't even see really any on a 1 minute, but you have no idea really what to expect. Let's say, for example, you want to use yesterday's high as your take profit if you went long, and you want to use today's low as your stop loss. So what's the probability that, I'm actually going to be right, that I'm going to hit my take profit at 98.39? And what is the probability that I'm going to get stopped out at 96.93? And so you don't know, right? That's the point. You're totally blind. And if I apply the probability chart, well, now we can see that yellow, zoom in here, my two white levels, my white lines here, obviously at today's low and then at yesterday's high. You can see that white line at yesterday's high would be my take profit, theoretically. My stop loss would be at yesterday's low, or sorry, today's low. And that's right under 37%, right? 37%. You can see my white line here. 37 is at 98.46. My white line, yesterday's high, or my TP, is at 98.39. So I would say, well, I have just about a 40, right? 39-40% chance of hitting my take profit. It is within the green zone. So green zone, essentially the green zone here from conservative to moderate, anywhere in this green zone, it would be like a really likely, the likelihood would be very high of, if that was your TP, hitting that TP or even trading within this area, right? Typically we'll see that, like yesterday is a good example where we'll trade in these zones, kind of in and out of these zones as well. So you also have to kind of take that into account whenever you enter the trade. Obviously, if it's right off the open versus later in the day. So like today we traded in the green zone, we broke out, came back into the green zone, broke out again, traded in the green zone, broke out, and then we got rejected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a bunch of little tests there off of that red zone, which the likelihood was like 20-25%. I added a little bit here on those contracts, obviously just on my small account. I bought a couple more contracts up here, and off of that last 15-minute flush we got, those contracts came back into the green. So I essentially sold those initial contracts I bought up here for a profit, and that offset about half of what I would have lost, twice as much as I ended up losing, because I was able to look at this and understand that the probability we now break above the red line is very, very little. It's very little. Okay, and then like I said, that's reset every day. And for example, off the open here, we traded into the green, we broke out, traded straight back into the green, we hit our 37%. Like, you'll see how there's no magic here. I mean, we're just using historical probabilities, and there's a bunch of different ways that you could kind of interpret this and trade it around a strategy, or on top of the way you're already making your trade decisions. But I'll be using this a lot more, and I will be giving you guys access to this as well to use on your own. How does that sound? Do you guys want access